I don't think so. Hello, you've caught me reading arguments online.
Us gamers do love an argument. It's not a bad thing. If anything, it's a sign we're passionate about our hobby. Of course, some arguments have definitive answers. Brown sauce or ketchup? It's brown sauce. Cats or dogs? It's dogs.
Final Fantasy VII or Final Fantasy IX? It's obviously...
I'm glad we cleared that up, but there are plenty of debates that will long outlive the debaters. Questions that will remain in time as they have in the annals of history, unsolved. Not that it will stop us bickering incessantly, of course, with each side irrefutably convinced their answer is the correct answer. In fact, there are enough disputes raging on that we can fill a Friday feature list with them.
So here are 7 video game arguments that will never be settled. Back for round 2, are you? Well...
The first argument on this list is about inverted or non-inverted controls. Look, let's get this out of the way. Neither one of these is the wrong way. Both are valid and should be tolerated in a modern gaming society. The argument is about which is better.
Everyone knows which one Nathan thinks is best.
Look, I've said it before, I just think that if you go back to the history of where these things came from with joysticks and flight sims...
In many cases, the choice was made for you. The Quidditch sections on the Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, inverted by default. Every section of Beyond Good and Evil, also inverted by default. The convention probably goes back to flight simulators and arcade games back in the day, but often games just picked one and stuck with it, meaning you got used to retraining muscle memory every time you played something new. Interestingly, scientists say that whatever feels most comfortable is probably hardwired in our brains, so it's not necessarily a choice we make consciously.
Push that stick down, otherwise it wouldn't make any sense. Otherwise you're just moving a cursor around the screen and maybe playing a game with you.
Nowadays, pretty much every game gives you the choice at the beginning, or at least hides it in a menu somewhere. Metal Gear Solid 5 does a really clever thing of asking you to look up at the beginning. Regardless of whether you push up or down on the stick, it will make Snake look up, register the input as your preference, and set the control scheme appropriately. How cool is that?
Technically, if you want to look up, you're going to be tilting your head back.
Nath, it was just supposed to be a quick joke. You completely thrown the rhythm of the entire entry.
Rob, I'm going to take this back to the Roman Stoics. And
Argument number 2 is all about which is better, first person or third person. You hear Rob's intro to this entry about argument number 2 and whether first person or third person is better. You ask yourself, why is there no second person? Thinking the observation is original and very funny, you begin to type it into the comments. Right, that's enough of that. And that's enough of that joke too before you actually start typing it in. This entry is about first and third person only. It's not an argument about whether a developer's stylistic choice is correct, but more about our personal preferences. For example, in a driving game, are you sitting in the driver's seat, living the fantasy of hurtling around the track in a machine that feels like it breaks the laws of physics? Or do you prefer to hover like an omniscient observer behind the car, as if you're having an out-of-body experience while sitting on the bonnet of the car trailing behind?
Both of these viewpoints, literal and metaphorical, have their pros and cons.
You get greater spatial awareness in third person, which can be invaluable in tense situations, not just in racing games either. Think about games like Resident Evil 4 or Silent Hill 2, where being able to see your backside stops you from being surprise attacked. On the other hand, first person puts you right at the front of the action, speeding round the final corner while sitting behind the wheel, or seeing Papa Baker redesign the kitchen through Ethan Winter's eyes ratchets up the pressure in a way that seeing it in third person never could.
See Dave's reaction here.
okay!
Whatever your preference, first or third person, one thing you can guarantee is there will be tens of people in the comments politely disagreeing with you.
Argument number 3 is about customizing your character. Should their outfit look cool and make you feel great, or do you choose practical outfits with better stats?
I think it's best to dress for the weather. You know, sensible, warm. Don't worry about looking cool.
At the beginning of a game, most go for stats and grab whatever garments they can find. Our characters wandering around the world, looking like they've been covered in glue and pushed into an open suitcase. As the game goes on though, you start to level up. Quests give you bigger payouts, meaning you can afford armour from the shops for a change. Maybe you're even rewarded with a complete matching set of armour.
Oh, my little warrior, all grown up. Let's take a quick photo in photo mode before your first day in the dungeon.
After this milestone, you'll eventually find armour that's stronger and flashier. This is where the problem starts. Do you return to the fashion disaster you once were in the pursuit of greatness? Or do you choose to wait until you've got a full set of armour you can swap into? Decisions. To avoid this problem, some new games feature the wonderfully named transmogrification, meaning you can wear the strongest armour for the stats while displaying an outfit of your choosing. No more arguments. Job done.
And while we're all grateful, you secretly miss the bickering, don't you?
The fourth argument will flare up before you've even plugged in your new console. Should you position your console so it stands vertically, tall and proud, or do you lay it horizontally, slender and discreet? Contrarians will argue either way is fine, and to do whatever fits in your living room.
But we all know deep down they're just upset that their preference doesn't quite match the vibe of the room.
As the years have passed and the PlayStation has gotten bigger, so too have the stakes of the argument. It's impossible to avoid having a stake in the game this generation because the PS5 is such a dominating figure, naturally drawing the eye, making its presence known. I am here, it says, notice me. If you're happy with its presentation, then great. If not, then catching it in the corner of your eye while watching TV might raise your blood pressure. If only it were lounging horizontally, it would look so much grander perched vertically.
Well, I think the PS5 is so beautiful that it looks great from any angle.
Oh, for God's sake, you're such a cop-out. You're just saying that because you know full well.
No, Dave. Remember the sign.
This fifth argument is a fundamental gaming style choice. Do you roleplay as the shadowy figure, picking people off one by one in a cold and calculating manner? You know, the stealth expert. Or are you a hot-blooded one-man army, raising hell with a bag full of explosives and a deafening war cry?
Personally, I'm a sneaky archer and roleplay as an assassin every chance I get.
There's something about the surgical removal of bad guys from the map that fills me with glee, lining up the perfect headshot or stalking stragglers to slice open their gullet. It's a thrill that can't be beaten, but that's just me. Other players, like community manager Alex for example, say that approach is boring, and when do I get to blow things up?
He says he doesn't have the patience, which I find difficult to believe considering he has 149 platinum trophies.
Alex falls into the action hero category, probably someone that watched loads of Arnold Schwarzenegger movies growing up. These are the shoot first, ask questions later, preferably when everything is on fire types. If it sounds like I'm being derisive, I'm not. Just because it's not the way I like to play, it doesn't mean I can't acknowledge how much fun it is letting loose your inner action gremlin by destroying everything that moves in the most dramatic way possible is very fun, don't get me wrong. I just won't be picking it over the sneaky archer anytime soon.
Although sometimes, I guess, when it's been a long day and those NPCs in Hitman look at you the wrong way. It's okay, it's out of my system now. Back to sneaking.
Romancing in big story-driven games is always fun until you're forced to make a choice. Then it's not fun, especially when it causes our next argument. Who should Geralt romance in The Witcher 3, Yennefer or Triss? The game came out in 2015, but nearly a decade later, the argument burns stronger than an Igni attack.
And so it should! It's important, damn it!
The fact that the third game is most people's entry into the story doesn't help matters either. There's the romantic history that's clearly stated in the plot, and the subtle interactions show us it's complicated. But we might not have actually been there. We're going in blind and are forced to choose between two characters who bring out a different side of our Witcher. Both camps have compelling arguments as well, as demonstrated here.
It's canon! again! Geralt must end up with Yennefer! It's how it's supposed to be!
Well, who are we to disrespect the will of the
But it's
author?
a game. The devs are letting us choose. I can choose whoever I want, and I choose Triss.
Well, I suppose if the devs are going
It's
to...
clearly Yennefer in the books!
Oh, you're a slave to the law. Exercise your free will.
It's Yennefer!
It's Triss.
Yennefer!
It's Triss.
Yennefer!
Triss.
Yennefer!
Triss.
Enough! Look, why can't he just choose both?
The legs are right to laugh. If Geralt decides not to play favourites, then both characters will turn on him. So you lose both potential partners, as well as your dignity after being left in a rather uncomfortable situation.
Hell hath no fury like a pair of romanceable NPCs scorned.
For the final argument, we've picked something that will really get the sparks flying in the comments section. Camping. Is it okay? We've all been victims of camping, so there will certainly be a strong anti-camping sentiment among the audience.
Anti-campers sound like this.
It's cheating! There's no skill! It's just not fair!
But there's only so much punishment many of us can take. If you can't beat them, you may as well pitch up a tent of your own and join them. And a bit like turning to the dark side, you'll start to understand what true power is when you grab a light machine gun with the biggest clip in the game and lay down in a hallway. Unfettered access to a sightline, working on your twitch reflexes to shower unfortunate chancers with lead whenever they run around the corner.
As such, pro campers sound like this.
Skill issue. Get good. It's a viable playstyle.
However, camping does exact a heavy toll on the camper. With every kill comes a cry of noob or cheater. Insults gnaw away at your soul, making you wonder whether this really is the morally acceptable practice you've convinced yourself it is. Will you lose your nerve and concede that it's an unacceptable way to play? Or do these cries only strengthen your resolve? Nay, I will not stop camping, for it is the only acceptable way to play. This is the question we must all ask ourselves, and a choice that only we can make.
I know where I stand. On a roof, in the corner, with a sniper rifle and a great view of half the map. And I'm not standing at all, actually, I'm lying down. How about you?
That's it for 7 video game arguments that will never be settled. There's no argument that you should leave a like on the video, and you should definitely debate the answers to these arguments by leaving us a comment. And whether you agree or disagree with our opinions, Good Debating Form states you simply must subscribe and click the notification bell to be reminded about other lists like this one every Friday. See you next week.